to you. Happy Mother's Day, everybody, and welcome to a Mother's Day rendition of Liz Live. And I thought I would do this. I haven't done this in literally years. And some of you may remember, really back when COVID started, I started doing live shows, jumping into COVID, helping people deal, and that just kind of took on a life of its own. And I had a pretty busy show twice a week where I was doing podcasts to help people with their mental health, their relationships, and also different things that, Roxy, stop it, that go on, that were going on at the time. Are you gonna come up or are you gonna? Okay, we may have some interruptions from my dogs. It's very possible, especially my new puppy. So I wanted to jump right into Mother's Day because Mother's Day is not always this wonderful, exciting day for everybody. Many people have lost their mothers. Many people have lost their children. Many people have maybe just lost a spouse or going through a divorce, and things have changed. So the family is not exactly what it used to be. And so when we have these milestone holidays that come about, where, you know, for some people it's very, very joyous and very, very exciting. Excuse me for 1 second. No, that's it. Oh my gosh. Promise that won't happen again. Oh my goodness. She used to be so bad when I start. And, oh no, I knew this was gonna happen. Roxy, sit down. So anyway, we're gonna ignore her. So I know that today can be a difficult day, including for new doggy mothers like myself. So we're gonna ignore her and eventually she'll stop. So I wanted to have a place for support where people can go on such a holiday and, you know, maybe get connected to other people who feel the same way that you do, and to understand that there is help out there. There are other people that understand what you're going through. Come here. Okay. Let's try again. Roxy, stop. Okay. So Roxy's on my lap now. So welcome back to Liz Live Mother's Day. I'm not flustered at all by her. No. So, okay, so those of you who are thinking about a mom, maybe a child, maybe even just a partner that you're not with this year, or maybe you haven't been with for many years, how do we deal with milestone days like today? And I'm gonna divide the show up into two parts. So the first part, I'm going to talk therapeutically about what we can do to stay connected to our loved ones on a day like this, and also how we can not only stay connected, but have support and be prepared for certain milestone days like this so that they don't kind of catch us off guard and we wind up kind of falling into a depression or not wanting to go out. So I'm going to talk a little bit about my story with my mother and how that impacted me and how I managed to survive it, and how after going through all of that I learned many ways to help my other clients that were coming to me who had also lost their mothers that they were very close to. And we're going to talk about things that you can do throughout the year to stay connected to our loved ones. There, from a therapeutic standpoint, things that we can do. And then we're going to switch over into the spiritual aspect. And there's been a lot of changes in my life since the last time I did these shows. And I would say it's been a good 4 years, maybe a good 3 years since I have done a live show. And I'm always going to be doing them on YouTube, where before I used to do them on Facebook and Instagram. I'm doing them only on Facebook. And only on YouTube, because I'm trying to unify my audience in one place. I have all new social media coming out and I'm really changing things around. And so over the last 3 years since you guys have really seen me doing these shows, a lot has changed. I have become a ballroom dancer. For those of you who follow my social media, you know that I've been ballroom dancing for over almost 4 years. And that in itself has been a very life-changing situation for me. I climbed up very quickly in the competitive field, and I've been doing a lot of dancing, which has certainly changed my life in many ways. And then the other thing that I've been working on the past 3 years that's a little bit different, I think, for maybe some people, maybe not, is I've been studying the ancient Japanese healing technique of Reiki. And Reiki is energy healing, pretty much, to put it simply. And as you go along and you study all the different levels of energy healing, other spiritual gifts will open up. So over the last few years, where I've been working as not just a therapist, but also a healer, an energy healer, I've also been able to develop a gift where I can often talk to deceased loved ones, to your spirit guides, and angels that may be with you. And this may sound kind of out there for those of you who really live in the more physical part of the world, but I can promise and guarantee you with 100% certainty that there is much more out there than appears. And I often talk about signs that I get. Okay, so one of the signs that my mother and I share, so that I know that she's with me, is usually peach or orangey colored roses, peachy orangey colored roses. Okay. So just before the show started, I went downstairs to the lobby of my building to get a coffee right here. And they have one of these great old fashioned coffee machines that they used to have like in ice skating rinks in the 80s. It's like $1 and you push and it's hot and it's delicious. So I went down to get a coffee, and lying on the ground of the lobby, just randomly, was this orangey peach colored rose petal. And I passed it, and then I stopped and I turned around and I said, wait a minute, what is this doing here? There was nobody around. There was nothing around. I mean, I figured somebody dropped it out of their bouquet. Okay, someone tried to call me. I hate that. So I found this, and I thought, oh my God, that's so strange. So I went in to get my coffee. And as I went in to get my coffee, another one was on the floor that was not there on my way in. I swear to God. So then I had 2 of these, okay, as I'm getting prepared to do my Mother's Day show, 2 signs for my mother. Crazy. I pick up the petals and I bring them back up here. And this one, my puppy, ate one of them. Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you for that. And this is all I have left. I think she was trying to take a bite out of this one. But this is the kind of evidence and the kind of signs that we can really actually create and make happen for us when we're missing our loved ones. And I'm going to talk about that in the second part of my show. So I am still a therapist. I still do therapy and I have lots of clients. But as I have grown over the past few years into this sort of spiritual space, many of my clients have come right along with me. And many of them prefer my Reiki healing to my therapy. And it's really just a personal choice. Or sometimes we switch off and on. We talk about what we need that day in that session. And if there's something that we really need to have a conversation about, then we have therapy. And if there's something that they're really wanting to connect to a message for them or something helpful from the other side, the spiritual side, then we will do a Reiki healing and we will see what messages we get. We also will try to get messages from our loved ones, and we do that through meditation, Reiki healing. So we're going to talk about all of these really fun, wild things today. Okay, but let's start talking about relationships with our mothers, because this probably is one of the most intense relationships that exists, period, right? So the mother-daughter relationship, the mother-son relationship is an intense one. It's a very intense one, meaning that there's a lot of exchange of emotion. There's a lot of emotional experiences that we go through together as a family. And as a family therapist, I see that quite often the mother-child relationship, because mothers are so protective and mothers are so caring. Of course, not all the time. I've heard many stories of awful mothers, but in general terms, speaking about the mothers that do care and are involved in their children's lives, it can be intense because there's always this sort of a mirror between our parents and ourselves, right? So we look to our parents as the only and first relationship that we have to understand the world. If we're a woman, to understand what it means to be a woman or how to be a woman. And if we are, a man looking at our mothers, we look at how, our mothers for how women are supposed to behave and what our relationships are supposed to look like with our moms. So we have all these intense connections with mother, right? And no matter what form of therapy you may subscribe to or follow or have studied or, whatever therapy you went through perhaps in your life and whatever modality or theories that your therapist was trained in, we all can agree pretty safely that much of who we are comes from our parents, right? And it comes especially from the parent that we spend the most time with. Not that one parent is more important than the other, but we definitely experience a very close connection and a very personal development by looking at our parents. And sometimes we look at our parents as something that we don't want to be, something that we do want to be, maybe a mixed bag, but regardless, it's an important relationship. Excuse me. You guys! I knew this was going to be tough. They're good all day until I get on the microphone. All right, let's see if we can pick one of them up. Here. All right. Okay, I'm going to have to find a quiet room where there's no dogs. So right now, for those of you who are here, I'm assuming that many of you who are here perhaps lost your mother, or maybe you lost a family member and Mother's Day just feels different. Maybe you lost a child. Unfortunately, many people, lose children. And it's an ugly reality, but it does happen. So if you're in those shoes, if you're in that position, you're not alone. And this is probably my 13th Mother's Day, I think, 12th or 13th Mother's Day without my mom, which is truthfully hard to believe because we were so close, and it's hard to believe that so many years have gone by. And to look back and see what's changed and how I've grown and so on and so forth, it's really amazing. So when we think about Mother's Day without our moms, it's a milestone not only for thinking about our mothers, but thinking about us. What losses we survived, how we grew, how we changed from the experience of losing our mothers, and thinking about today, how can we connect to them? So one of the things that I do, that I have done since, well, let's be honest, when my mother first died, which was in 2013, so yeah, I think this is my 12th, this is my little baby. I think since I was, I'm trying to think, 30 something, I don't know. Since 2013, I've had Mother's Days without my mom. And that was very sad because I always flew into Pittsburgh for Mother's Day to visit with her. And we had a celebration and it was really lovely. And then all of a sudden, that ended. So for the first couple years, I would literally shut down, not answer my phone, not celebrate at all, and almost ignore Mother's Day and pretend like it wasn't happening. And if you're doing that, that's quite all right. It's okay. Just because it's, a Hallmark national holiday doesn't mean that we have to participate. And sometimes we're just not interested in participating. We're just not ready for that quite yet. And it probably took 4 or 5 Mother's Days until I was ready to kind of join society on that day. So I do remember vaguely, although it's been a while, I do remember very much hiding out and just literally pretending like Mother's Day didn't happen. I would go shopping or do something by myself and just I couldn't wait for the day to be over, and then I would wake up the next day and it was over, and that's kind of how I dealt with it. Now, is that the most healthy way of dealing with it? I mean, who's to say? I don't think there is or is not a right way of dealing with it, but that's what I needed at the time. I needed to sort of cut off from the societal celebration because it was draining me. It was putting it too much in my face of what I had lost. And, often when we lose somebody, we're thinking mostly about their absence, right? And we don't focus as much on what their presence meant to us or what it was. We're deep in grief and we focus on their absence. And that would be true if there's anybody special, a child, a loved one, a spouse, a sister, a brother, whomever. Any kind of celebrations, family days like these, we will go back and think about who's missing. And I don't know why we do that, because if you think about it, it would be much more, I guess, lovely if we could focus on what they brought to our lives rather than what's missing. But when we are deep in grief, we are specifically focusing on the absence of. And once we acknowledge that and we realize, hey, okay, I'm kind of hiding out here, or I'm feeling depressed or down or sad because I'm thinking that this mother is not here anymore. And you really are thinking on a wavelength of absence. The good thing about this is it's very easy to switch over to, instead of thinking of the absence, thinking of the presence. So we can shift that when we're grieving, and we can shift it quite easily. And I'm going to explain to you what I mean by that. So if I think on Mother's Day, like today, gee, I'm so sad, my mom's not here, which clearly, if you saw the opening of the show, she's here. If you are feeling that absence, you can, and you become aware of it, you can kind of stop yourself and say, okay, I know that today I'm feeling sad because my mom isn't here, but I also can stop and think about maybe some of the really wonderful times we had together, or maybe some of the wonderful things that she taught me, and really celebrate that person being in your life rather than grieving the absence of. And it seems, I can hear, people probably saying, yeah, easier said than done. And, nothing's really easy in life. And especially when we're grieving, there's nothing easy about grief. But we do have choices. Even in the depths of despair, as hard as it may seem, we do have a choice to even take a quick break from grieving and say, okay, I've just been depressed for 3 hours because my mom isn't here. Now I'm going to go do something that my mother would have loved. Or I'm going to think about what my mother would want me to do today, and I'm going to go do those things. That might be, I don't know what your mother liked to do, but my mother was very family oriented, so she'd probably want me to be with my family or call my family or something like that. And you really have to think about, okay, everyone on my show. I don't know why that is. It's all over social media that I'm doing a show. That's okay. At least I'm being thought of. That's so sweet. So, I'm not going to let you down. So that shift we make from focusing on the absence of to focusing on the presence of is something that's possible even when we are in the depths of despair. And that sort of begins our reconnection to our loved one, our mom who's passed on, crossed over to the other side, and we can start having a relationship with this person even though they're not here. Now, even if you don't believe in life after death and you think that's all garbage, whatever, that's fine. But we can still focus on that relationship in our minds and in our hearts, because even if our mothers aren't here, we still have a relationship with them. We still think about their influence on our lives. We still hear them talking to us, or we laugh about things they would say, or we think about what advice they would give in this moment. So there's always ways of shifting that focus. And I speak also, I know quite a few mothers out there that lost children, lost adult children, lost teenage children to horrible diseases. And that is also just an absolutely dreadful pain. But again, when we feel like we're ready to do it, we always will feel better if we stay connected to that person in some way. And it can be simply keeping a picture of them around you, or carrying something that was theirs in your purse, or putting it on your desk, so that every time you look, you think of them. And you think of them not in a, oh no, they're not here, but oh my God, I remember when they gave me those peach roses. And I remember how my mother loved peach roses. Things like that. So think about what your loved one who is really being missed today on Mother's Day, think about just for a moment, what did they bring to your life, and how can you stay connected to them even though they may not be here in the physical with you. And I love keeping things of theirs around, carrying something in your purse or your car, or something that makes you always feel like they're with you and that they're connected, even if you don't believe in anything. Because even if you believe that life ends at death and that's it, lights out, nothing else happens, again, our minds are always thinking about those people that were important to us that we miss. And you can still have a psychological relationship with them. In fact, you do have a psychological relationship with them, whether you like it or not, because you can always remember them, you can always tell stories about them, et cetera, et cetera. Another group of people that might be having a hard time today are people who had lousy mothers, people who were abandoned by their mothers, or mistreated or abused by their mothers. Mother's Day isn't always so fun for them. And the sort of antidote for them is going to be a little bit different than it is for a mother that you loved and lost, than a mother you didn't care for, and or a mother who you feel betrayed and hurt by. So when that's the case, my advice might be a little bit different. My advice to you people might be, well, I didn't get the mother that I wanted, but who I am today and things that I've accomplished and that I've done are as a result of the mother that I had. And you can look at things in your life that you're grateful for and say, okay, I had a lousy mother, but man, it really taught me to be a fabulous, involved mother with my children. And if not for that, I wouldn't be so close to my children. Or perhaps you chose a career of some sort that you really love because of the way your mother, abandoned you or hurt you. And maybe you're out there helping other people who've been through the same thing. So there's always kind of a positive spin and a way that we can shift our awareness from the absence to the presence, right? So that's the big bottom line message, is what can we do today instead of focusing on the absence of our mothers or children or loved ones? How can we focus on their presence? What can we do? What can we surround ourselves with? Who can we surround ourselves with in order to keep us in a more appreciative mode? One of the things that I think is kind of fun to do is look at old pictures, and find a picture of you and your mom, or, you and your child, that really warms your heart, that's special to you. Make sure you display that picture, or make sure you put it in your wallet and you keep it close to you all the time. Maybe you wear something that was theirs, or maybe you just think, okay, today my mother, for example, she really loves shopping. So maybe I'll go shopping today because that's something my mother would have loved to have done. And we used to shop together. So it doesn't really matter what it is, how small, how trivial. There's always a way to make the shift from absence to presence. And there's so many different things that we can do to move into that awareness of presence of the person, whether they're here or they're not. And I'm just giving you a few ideas, but some more ideas might be going to their favorite restaurant, visiting their grave, um, lighting some candles for them, toasting to them at your dinner tonight. Um, maybe going through Mother's Day photos that you have with this person and listening to music, a song that they really loved. Music does wonders for the soul and can really help reconnect you to that relationship that you had with your mom that really makes you feel nostalgic. And people do all kinds of things. They take flowers and cakes to the grave. They have their own little ceremonies at home. They talk about the person, tell stories about the person. And by doing these things, we're keeping them alive. We're keeping them in the present moment, even though their physicalness is not necessarily something that we can see, feel, or touch. Okay? And I certainly would advise you that if you're really struggling with grief, especially on a day like today, reach out for help. One of my specialties is grief. And don't hesitate to reach out and say, hey, I need to do some grief work. And there's many wonderful things that we can dive really deep into in a therapy session that I can't do here necessarily. Because it wouldn't be necessarily personal to you. But it's really important to make sure that we get through the grief. We don't get over people that we've loved and lost. I don't believe that we do. I think that we learn to live without them, and we learn that life does go on, that they would want us to go on, and they wouldn't want us to sit around and grieve them for the rest of our lives. They would want us to jump into life and live out their legacy. I truly believe that. And if you put yourself in their position, if you were no longer here and you have children and loved ones and friends and family and they were missing you, you wouldn't want them sitting around and crying for you. You would want them to get out and live life in honor of the things that you believed in. So think about what mom or your child or whomever you're missing today, maybe it's a multitude of people, think about what they love to do or what they stood for, and think about how you can go and do that today. Because I don't think there's a more beautiful way of honoring the memory of somebody than doing things that were important to them. And that is how their legacy and their personality and their love continues on. Okay, so in grief therapy, there's many different things we can do to help process the grief. And if you're interested, please reach out to me. All my information's on my YouTube page, my social media. It's very easy to get a hold of me. You can go to my website. You can ask for a consultation, a session, whatever you like, whatever you need. Okay, now let's shift over into the spiritual world, okay? So what is the spiritual world anyway? What are you talking about, Elizabeth? What does this all mean? So I'm going to talk a little bit, very briefly, about my spiritual journey. And I'm going to talk about what I mean by this. And by the way, you are welcome to ask me any questions. You're welcome to like this. You're welcome to love it. You're welcome to ask any questions. I'm here and I'm available. And I believe whoever needs to see this will see this. So my spiritual journey started with, speaking of mothers, it started many years ago. I'm going to say maybe 5 or 6 years ago, where I was very skeptical. I did not believe in life after death. I thought, it was more of like a myth or something. I really didn't believe in it. And I decided I really wanted to talk to my mom. I really felt like there was some unfinished business surrounding her manner of death and what happened. And I really wanted to, connect to that. So what I did is I scheduled a reading with a medium. And I was, oh my God, I was so skeptical. I mean, I really didn't even, believe that she could talk to my mom or anything. But something pulled me in and I was curious. So I did this reading with Katie Kelly, who is wonderful. And she blew my mind. She knew things about my mother and I that nobody else knew, that I knew she had to be speaking to my mother, and she really used evidence based information to really convince me that there's just no way she would know these things unless she was actually talking to my mother. And I was wowed. And at that very moment, in that very day, everything I thought I believed was true really changed for me. And I started believing in life after death. And I started believing that if she can talk to my mother, then I'm pretty positive that she's still around. I don't know where she is. I don't know what she is, but she is here somewhere. So through my work with Katie that went on for many years, I trained with her. I did many, many readings. I did events with her, my clients, when I was working in Pittsburgh. And she just wowed everybody. And she really got me to open up my spiritual sense and realize that, wow, okay, people, when they die, they are not gone. They, in fact, are sometimes even closer to us from the other realm where they are than they would be if they were in the physical world. So let's say your mom lived in California and you lived in New York. How often are you seeing her? Maybe not that often. But when your mom crosses to the other side, she can be wherever she wants, whenever she wants, really quickly. And there's a lot of wonderful news and information about the other side or where people go when they die. And after Katie kind of turned my senses onto this and I started becoming a believer, I obsessively watched near-death experiences, people who had a near-death experience and talked about it. And I mean, I must have watched 300. There's so many on YouTube. I mean, it just blew my mind because there were so many similarities in what they were saying. So I very quickly became more and more and more engrossed and more of a believer. And then I started thinking, well, how can I be in contact with the other side, with wherever people go when they die, with heaven or whatever you want to call it? How can I be in contact? And what I realized is it's not that hard. It's hard, but it's not that hard. So the way that I began my journey, my spiritual journey was, and I do see there's some questions and I promise I'll get to them. But let me see why people are texting me right now. There must be a reason. No, okay. I don't know why people are texting me. But anyway, so, okay. So one of the big things that I learned is that a way in the door to the other side was Reiki. And Reiki is an energy healing process. But when you learn how to tap into your own energy field or somebody else's energy field, and they have people with them in their energy field, I was picking up on these people. So, for example, I would do a Reiki session, and all of a sudden, I would get this vision of a person. And at first, I was very afraid to say what I saw because I thought I was making it up or I was going crazy. But the more I just grew the courage to say, hey, I'm seeing, a big tall man in military gear with big sunglasses, and I think he's your grandfather. People, oh my God, my grandfather's in the military. And, so it just grew and grew and grew and grew. And, after 5 years of continuous practice and continuous studies and continuous working on my vibration staying as high as possible by being as kind as possible, by being as relaxed as possible, and I'm always very kind. I'm not always that relaxed. I can be anxious at times, and that'll kind of cut off the connection. But I learned so much about who's really with us, our spirit guides, our guardian angels, our departed loved ones. They're with us all the time. And when you think about them, you are ringing their doorbell. you are literally ringing their doorbell. So if you're thinking about your mom today, I promise you, she is with you. You may not see her, but she sees you. And if you are really interested in learning how to talk to your mom or departed loved one, I highly suggest you try a mediumship session or try a Reiki healing and see, what the Reiki practitioner, me, can pick up on. And it's really incredible. Another thing I tell people to do that really is a game changer is to ask your loved one for signs. So for example, there are so many instances, okay, where these peachy, orangey roses, that is my designated sign with my mom. And there's been many times where I've wanted to know if she was there with me, and sure enough, a peach or an orange rose would appear. And so many amazing stories. And if you didn't hear my story about this morning, right before the show, I went downstairs to lobby of my building where they have a coffee machine. And as I'm walking down the hallway to the vending room, I see this single rose petal lying on the floor with nothing around it, nobody there. So at first I walk by and then I stopped. I go, oh my God, what is this? Oh my goodness. I picked it up and I said, oh my God, I think it's a sign from my mom. So I pick it up and I'm kind of in awe, and I go in, I get my coffee, I come back out, and suddenly there was another one, a second one. I am not crazy. I know exactly what I saw and didn't see, and there was another second petal, which my dog ate when I got up here, so I can't show it to you. Roxy ate it. But so I knew that was so magical, that my mom was letting me know that she is here, and she wanted to make sure that she knew I was thinking about her today, that I was doing this show, and that I was trying to reach out and help other people who are missing their moms or feeling really challenged in their grief like I once was, and I'm here to try to help. And she really was acknowledging, Elizabeth, I know what you're doing today, and I'm with you. And I thank you, Mom, for that sign. That was really incredible. And you too can ask for signs. It's really simple. So what you might want to do is say, okay, Mom, if you're with me today, I want you to show me a gold coin. Okay? Now, you may not see an actual gold coin, but the next time you look at a billboard or you open a magazine or you go online, you're going to pop right in front of you is going to pop an image of a gold coin. And it will happen. It might take 24 hours or so, but it will happen. And you will get a really great confirmation that your mother and or departed loved one is with you. So there's so many ways of exploring this. But the bottom line today is that if you're feeling alone and you're grieving your mom or grieving a family member, you are not alone, and there is help. I am always reachable. And everyone usually has at least one person that they can reach out to today and spend time with. Or if you really don't and you really feel very alone and you want to connect, there's nothing like the telephone or the television or a good show or taking a nice walk and just getting some fresh air and getting out of your space. Or if what you really feel like doing is laying down under the covers, you know what? That's okay too. There's no right or wrong way to grieve, and these special milestone holidays tend to really bring it out, especially when it's specifically focused on a mom. So I know a lot of people are missing their mothers today, or perhaps there's mothers out there missing their children today. And I think the bottom line message from my show today is that these departed loved ones are absolutely, positively still with you. And through your own work, through going to therapy or going to experience a mediumship reading or Reiki healing, you will be able to connect. And there are people like myself out there who can help you do this, and it can really be life-changing, and it can really fill your heart. So we always want to stay connected to the ones we love and lost, and whether you do that in a therapeutic manner or you do it in more of a spiritual mediumship manner, there's always ways of staying close and connected to the ones we love. That's the bottom line. So reach out. My website is in the bio, actuation-counseling.com. You can reach out, call me through Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram, YouTube, write me a message, set up a session, and let's get you connected to the one that you love and lost, be it through therapy and or through a spiritual mediumship reading. And that's that. So I thank you for joining Liz Lander on this lovely May 11th, I believe it is, in Miami. The sun is shining, isn't it always? And I hope the sun is shining somewhere where you are too. And if you are celebrating Mother's Day, which could be yourself and or loved ones, have a beautiful day. And if you're one of us on the other side who is missing our moms, I hope that you found the information helpful, and that if you feel like you need help, you definitely will reach out. And let me just check. I hope this worked. Okay, so with that, I love you all. Happy Mother's Day, and don't forget to reach out anytime you need. Have a great Sunday, everybody.